Well, welcome everyone. We're so happy that you've joined us today. This is the first big exhibit that we have here at Chelsea Art Center, and we're just so pleased to feature the works of John D. Elliott, who is a long time, 50-some years you've been a
Yeah.
photographer and a diplomat, so he has these wonderful photos from all over the globe, and he's going to share his stories with you today. So we're thrilled to have the exhibit. It's going to be here for at least 2 months now from today, and you are here for the grand opening. So thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. Welcome, friends and family. And I want to give a huge thank you to the Chelsea Art Center and Dr. Barbara Fife, who has been very accommodating and generous, allowing me to show some of my photographs in these 2 rooms. And moved here a little bit more than 2 years ago from Washington, D.C. Ocala's been very welcoming. The art community here is flourishing and blossoming. I belong to a couple of different organizations, and I also started the Ocala Photography Group. We have a meetup group that meets once a month, and I encourage you all to get on the email list for that. We do all sorts of activities. So this exhibit is a cross-section, about 20% of these 2 series that I started back in the early 80s. And these are ongoing series. I've been working on them on and off, probably for 40 years, I guess, if you do the math. And so this is a labor of love. Whenever I travel to a different country, whether it's for professional reasons or personal reasons, I'm on the lookout for photographs. The walls and spaces in here began while I was wandering around Oaxaca, Mexico, and Venezuela in the early 80s, and I started noticing that some of the walls had a lot of personality. And since I couldn't get pictures of people all the time, I started focusing on the walls and the facades and the areas. So I would find that there was a personality in many of the walls, and then I started adding bringing in humans and other animals into the scene, which added another dimension, which gave it a little bit more personality. As the series progressed, I found the animals also brought a sense of scale. And so in some cases there are humans here which relate to the wall. There's a little bit of humor here. The man here inadvertently looks just like the bull there. So my daughter saw it and she called it 2 bulls. And my daughter was actually with me when I took that picture. This exhibit is really momentous for me because it was almost exactly 10 years ago I had a huge exhibit in Brazil. And so almost to the month, this is 10 years since that exhibit was the first time that I showed the Walls and Spaces series. The Human Pulse has been shown in various galleries in the Middle East and all around the USA and in South America. But it's really nice to have both series exhibited here. And so I say that the walls silently beckon to me. That's why I photographed them. And if you go on my website, you'll see a lot more walls and spaces. Now, the Human Pulse series in the library there, it's the library, that's why there are lots of books there. It's the Chelsea Art Center's library. And it represents a multifaceted spectrum of global humanity. You've got joy and challenges, and you've got people being reflective, you've got people being spontaneous, and each photograph has a story to tell. Really, the series started when I was a kid, although I didn't realize it. In my house, we had a book called The Family of Man, which documented a momentous historical exhibit in New York City put together by the famous photographer Edward Steichen. And so my parents had this book in their living room, and I would pull it down off the shelf and look through all the pictures. And so years later, when I started thinking about a series, I remembered some of the feelings that I had when I looked at some of these pictures, which were taken all over the world. And so I tried to replicate some of that feeling of global humanity. Now, you'll notice that all of the pictures are taken from a higher vantage point, and this is intentional. And this, to me, has a number of benefits. You get a sense of depth, especially with the wide-angle lens that I'm using. And it also gives you a sense of spaciousness, and you get to see a lot of people in the background. So that's why the photographs are larger than normal. There's a lot of detail, and it doesn't really work well on online. It works much better as a series on the wall. Each image has some ambiguity and mystery, and the reason why is because I believe posing questions is sometimes more enlightening than answering questions. And so it's different than the photojournalism that I used to do when I was a magazine photographer. A lot of times people say, what's going on and why is that and where is that? And I like that. I like the fact that people are curious about what's going on. And a lot of the images, especially the ones that I didn't put up on the wall because they're a little bit somber and controversial, a lot of them deal with the challenges that people have in the world with poverty. And these are maligned people in different countries, developing countries. And so that's important to me. My photography, especially for that series, the mission that I have is to bring a little bit more peace to the world. And with the terrible things that are going on in the Middle East and in Ukraine, it's especially more important that we realize that we are all brothers and sisters. And finally, I want to mention that I have a sense of predestination about my photography, in the sense that I feel like there are a lot of pictures out there that are just waiting for me to take them. And so that's why I say this is an ongoing series. A lot of times there's serendipity, and it's amazing. Like, for example, I was taking pictures of these people in the shore of Brazil, and I thought, wow, it needs something in the foreground. And I saw a horse off to the left, but it wasn't doing anything. And I was thinking, wow, I really wish that it would come into the scene. And just a few seconds later, it started walking into the scene. So it's really amazing how the serendipity works out for me. So again, I invite you to look to my website, thehumanpulse.com, and you'll see a lot more pictures.